Limerence, at its core, is a kind of emotional obsession. It's not just liking someone or falling for them in a normal, healthy way. It's being consumed by them. It can feel like you've met someone who lights up a part of you you didn't even know existed. You may feel a deep, almost spiritual connection after just a glance or a short conversation. You start constructing fantasies, sometimes elaborate, detailed stories in your mind about your future together. You imagine what it would be like to wake up next to them every day, how they'd look at you with love in their eyes, how being with them would finally make you feel whole. But here's the catch. Most of that intensity is happening inside you, not in the actual relationship, if there even is one. And it's often fueled by uncertainty. That's what makes limerence so addictive. It thrives on ambiguity, distance, and fantasy. As soon as the other person reciprocates in a stable, clear way, the obsession can vanish. That's why so many people find themselves longing for someone until they finally get them, and then losing interest. Now, for gay men in particular, limerence often shows up with more force and frequency. It's not because we're emotionally weaker or more dramatic. It's because our early emotional development often got twisted by shame, repression, and lack of access to authentic connection. Think about it. While most straight kids are learning how to navigate crushes, dating, and heartbreak in their teens, maybe even in middle school, many gay boys are learning how to hide. We're learning how to compartmentalize our desire, how to pretend we don't feel what we feel, how to blend in and survive. That delayed development doesn't just disappear when we come out. What it does is wait. It waits for the first person who sees us, really sees us, and triggers that flood of everything we've been holding back. And that's often what limerence is. A dam finally breaking. Then there's the issue of scarcity, which is incredibly real in the lives of gay men. We're working with a much smaller dating pool, and depending on your environment, maybe an even smaller one, filtered by age, location, race, gender expression, or even body type. So when we meet someone who checks all the right boxes, it's easy to put way too much emotional weight on them. They stop being just a person. They become the one, the fantasy of everything we've ever wanted. This tendency to idealize is very common in limerence, and very common in gay male dating culture, especially when you've experienced loneliness or rejection. You start projecting. You might think this man is the answer to your years of internalized shame, to your feelings of being unlovable or unseen, to your wish that someone would just choose you without hesitation. But what's actually happening is you're relating to a fantasy, not the real person in front of you. That fantasy is powerful, but it's also fragile, because it only works as long as the person stays just out of reach. There's also a psychological mechanism called intermittent reinforcement that plays a massive role here. If someone gives you attention inconsistently, one day texting you back quickly, the next day ignoring you, your brain gets addicted to the unpredictability. This is the same reward system that makes gambling addictive. Gay men often end up in limerence spirals with men who are emotionally unavailable, narcissistic, or just not interested, because their mixed signals hit those reward circuits hard. And many of us grew up chasing emotional scraps, attention from distant parents, attention from unavailable peers, or love from people who didn't accept us. So intermittent reinforcement feels familiar. That familiarity can feel like chemistry even when it's actually your nervous system reliving old pain. Another dimension that makes limerence so gripping for gay men is the need for validation, not just as individuals, but as gay people in a world that still marginalizes and devalues our love. If you've grown up being told, implicitly or explicitly, that your desires are wrong, your relationships are less meaningful, or that you'll never have a real love story, then being seen and desired by someone who resents the kind of man you thought you'd never have can feel earth-shattering. It can feel redemptive, But that craving for validation can easily turn into emotional dependence. You stop seeing the other person as a flawed human being and start seeing them as the mirror that proves you're worthy. That's not love. That's survival instinct dressed up as romance. So, what do we do with all this? First, we need to recognize that limerence isn't shameful. It's a response to unmet emotional needs. It's the product of longing, trauma, and repression, not weakness. But it's also not something that will heal itself through more attention, more fantasy, or finally getting the guy. What helps is turning inward. You start by noticing the pattern. How often do you fall for unavailable men? How intense is the obsession? Do your feelings get stronger when the person pulls away and fade when they come closer? Do you fantasize more than you actually engage with the person as they really are? From there, you can start to unpack the emotional roots. What were your early experiences with love and desire? Were you allowed to express yourself openly? Were you punished for being different? Were you taught that you had to earn love through perfection, performance, or suffering? These are hard questions, but they point to where healing is needed. So, what actually helps when you're caught in the grip of limerence? It starts with grounding yourself in reality, in your body, your daily life, your actual needs. That might mean journaling, connecting with others who make you feel safe, or doing things that help regulate your nervous system, like breath work, movement, or just being in nature. It also means being brave enough to sit with the discomfort of loneliness instead of escaping into fantasy. That part is hard, but over time, it makes you stronger. It helps you feel more like yourself, and it breaks the cycle of chasing people who can't or won't love you back. And here's a truth that might be hard to hear, but is also deeply freeing. You cannot heal your self-worth through another person's affection. No amount of being chosen will make you feel chosen if you haven't chosen yourself first. That's what limerence distracts us from, the internal work. It tells us the solution is out there, in him, in the connection, in the fantasy. But the real path to freedom is inward, not outward. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're human. You've likely carried a lot of emotional weight alone for a long time. But you deserve a kind of love that's mutual, consistent, safe, and real. And that love starts with the way you relate to yourself, especially when the fantasy fades. Thanks for watching. If you're a gay man and these conversations speak to you, go ahead and hit subscribe. I post new videos every week about the things we go through: love, identity, healing, and everything in between. I'd love to have you be part of this community. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.